Good afternoon and welcome to Blindbuilds. I'm your host, Blind Prime, and today we're going to be continuing the ongoing MILS, Modulated Integrated Landscaping System, and talk about where we've come so far. Now, I started the MILS stuff up with, originally with the cave system, the modular cave system, and then I transferred over to playing with the apartment and the pet shop, and the townhouse and the pet shop, and working with the modulated integrated the MILS system there, and it worked out pretty well. Well, I played around with it further and upgraded the city garage to mill standard, and that worked out pretty well too. And that's whenever I figured, okay, I think I've got enough experience, enough practice on this. Let me actually spend some money and get the pieces that I actually want to get, and to make it pretty. Because I mean, at the end of the day, I really want it to look nice, and I figured the best way to make it look nice is to buy some pieces. And so I went and figured out what is the best pattern, and I bought pieces appropriately. So I bought enough pieces to mills up the diner, mills up the detective's office, mills up Assembly Square, and mills up a few more if I need to, which I'm probably going to re-mills City Garage a bit so that it has the axle ports, because I'm a big believer in axle pins. I know they don't keep it as sturdy as regular Technic pins do, but I appreciate the fact that you don't jostle the structure whenever you're switching out mills. So I can just slide these two, this platform and the diner right up next to each other, and no problems. You just got a piece there, you just slide it in. There's no jostling. It just connects. And of course, I knocked something over because it wouldn't be a video on my channel without me knocking something over. But I love using the axle pins instead of Technic pins because it's a smoother connection. And if I had to change one big thing about mills, it would be that I appreciate the axle pins so much more than Technic pins, and I dislike using Technic pins for anything that has delicate structure work because it's always going to jostle. No matter how careful you are, you're still going to jostle when disconnecting Technic pins. So that's the big change. And of course, that change has been implemented with the modular cave system since version 3. But now let's further talk about the piece count, because you're going to need some pieces to do this. So I've got a 32 by 32 and also a 16 by 32, because you have structures like the bookshop and the pet shop, and of course Assembly Square, that may require more pieces. Of course, you could build Assembly Square different, but if you were just building these to keep mills ready, you could also use a 16 by 32 and throw down 2 road plates on top of it. And this would work out pretty well for road plates. It's important to consider those things. And that's why I thought it would be important to build a standard for both a 16 by 32 and the 32 by 32. And I'm going to have to build one for the 16 by 16, but I think it's going to be very similar to the 16 by 32, except different. Same, different, different. So the 32 by 32, we'll start with that one first, okay? And to keep myself from getting tongue-tied, we are going to do our best, because there's a lot of 2-bys. There's so many 2-bys in this. So I'm going to try and think of a few of them by fun names, and I'll come up with the names as I come up with the names. So fluorescendinas, as I call the 4 2x2s, you're going to need 4. One on each corner. They can be any color you want because it's your mills plate. They're actually going to help others know your mills projects from their mills projects, because that's one of the thing about mills. You use the 2x2 section in the corners to adjust for people to see, make it easier for people to know whose is whose. I decided to go with high visibility fluorescents, even though I can't see them. I should have gone with some sort of texture 2x2, but oh well. We are committed. So you're going to need 4 of those. You're also going to need 8 1x2 modified with Technic pins. So I'm just going to call them the Technic guys. But you're going to need 8 of the Technic guys modified 1x2 with pin. you're also going to need 8 regular 1x2 bricks. Now, because when building, you're going to put one Technic guy down right next to your 2x2 on the edge of the 3232 platform. Then you're going to put down one regular 1x2 right directly behind it. And that's going to stop pins from going in too far, and it's also going to add some stability, so this corner piece is a little more difficult to pull out when the plates are engaged. Now, the exterior walls for the 32 by 32s are all the same. All 4 walls are the same. It's the 16 by 32s that will be different, and we'll discuss that in a minute. But we will discuss how to build one side, and I'm going to take it that you also understand build the other 3 sides the same way, okay? So 2x2 on the corner, then followed by Technic guy and regular brick behind him, regular 1x2. Then you're going to get to 1x4 next to Technic guy. Then next to the 1x4, you're going to put a 1x4 modified with arch. We're going to call it Archie, okay? So you're going to take Archie, which is a 1x4 modified brick with arch. And Archie, instead of going flush with the 1x4 that's connected to Tech Guy, you're instead going to scoot him back 1 stud and set him down. Then next to him, you're going to have another Pooh 1x4, and then you're going to have a Pooh 1x4. Then you're going to have an Archie that stepped back 1 stud from the Pooh 1x4s. And it'll be Archie, 1 stud, then your table. So Archie should be 1 stud away from the edge of the 32 by 32 plate. Then, next to Archie, Pooh 1x4, and then followed by Tech Guy, and behind Tech Guy is 1x2 regular brick. Then, beside that, you got your 2x2 fluorescent, or Florentina, or fluorescing, a weird name, I know. I can't even keep it straight. It's the name I made for it. So, copy that process for each side, okay? To do this, you're going to need 8 Archies. You're going to need 16 Pooh 1x4s. You're also going to need 8 Tech Guys. You're going to need 8 1x2 regular bricks. You're also going to need 4 2x2 bricks for the exterior. This is for your exterior build. Those are your brick counts for exterior. Write them down. Now, the interior type. So, I found it's best to go with a pattern when you're doing this, okay? If you're going to buy bricks, you might as well design something as well. So what I did is I went with tic-tac-toe and made a tic-tac-toe pattern, or the number sign, or hashtag, however you want to call it. I learned it first by calling it the tic-tac-toe. So you take and make boxes. Let's slide you over just a bit, Diner. Okay, so what you're going to do here is make some boxes. And make sure I didn't accidentally screw something up. Let me double check. Cool. And then cool. And then cool. All right. And if you don't know what a tic-tac-toe pattern is, it is the number sign, which is, of course, 2 parallel lines with 2 more parallel lines crossing them. I think it's perpendicular. They're going across. So 2, and then you put 2 across those 2. And that's a plus sign also. It kind of makes a plus sign with lines. Anyway, to start off, we'll discuss the top left corner. Now each corner is going to be the same. So when I talk about the top left corner, I'm also talking about the bottom left corner, and I'm also talking about the top right corner, and I'm also talking about the bottom right corner, because all 3 corners are built exactly the same. There's a pattern here. Okay, so the pattern goes: find Archie. Okay, once you find your Archie, take a 2x2 brick and put that 2x2 brick right on the edge of Archie and the Pooh regular 1x4. There should be a stud difference between the 2x4 brick, which we're going to call bloosters, okay, because I like saying blooster. So you got blooster 2x4 brick, and there's going to be 1 stud between Pooh brick 1x4 and blooster. So Pooh brick, 1 stud, blooster. Then Archie, blooster. There's no stud between Archie and blooster, because blooster is currently straddling the edge of Archie and Poobrick. Now, we're going to move over here, and we're going to skip one stud. So you're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. You're going to follow Bluester all the way down because he's a 2x4. You're going to skip one stud, and you're going to put a 2x2. We're going to call these 2x2 Greg, okay? So Greg here is a 2x2. Greg 2x2 has some rules to it, all right? And this is going to help you with the pattern. Greg the 2x2 has rules. Greg the 2x2 likes hanging out with Bluesters, okay? So Greg will always be one stud away from Bluesters. But Greg hates other Gregs. Greg does not like Greg. So Greg will always be two studs away from other Gregs, okay? So it will be a 2x2 Greg, two studs, 2x2 Greg. Two studs down, 2x2 Greg. Two studs across from 2x2 Greg, 2x2 Greg. Two studs up from 2x2 Greg, 2x2 Greg. Okay, Gregs, they like hanging around each other, but they don't like being close. Not as close as they like being around the Bluesters, okay? So then what you're going to do is you're going to go to the 2x4. You're going to put a 2x4 Bluester directly above your 2x2 Greg, okay? And that Bluester, of course, will follow the same pattern as the other Bluester, which means that it will connect directly to one stud on the edge of Archie. And it will also be one stud away from the edge of the 1x4 Poobrick. So when you go 1x4 Poobrick, you go one stud, then you go Bluester. You go Archie, you go Bluester. There's no stud between Archie and Bluester because Bluester is straddling Archie and Poobrick. Now, in the center of this area, you have a Bluester, but this Bluester can go anywhere, just so long as this Bluester is one stud away from other Bluesters and two studs away from other Bluesters, okay? It doesn't matter if you put him in the vertical format. He has to be two studs away from one Bluester and one stud away from the other Bluester. He will on the four side, because he's a 2x4, the four sides will always be two studs apart, and the two side will always be one stud apart from a four side. Okay? And that's the pattern for the corners. Okay, there's four corners. And for each of these micro builds, you're going to need 1, 2, 3 Bluesters, and you're going to need a 2x2. So that's 4 bricks on each of the corners. Everything else has been handled with the exterior buildage. Now we're going to cross the little valley of the arch. Valley of the arch, what I'm going to call those from now on, because it's the valley that allows for the arch here in Archie to allow chords to flow through. It also is the valleys that create the number sign. Now, on the other side of the valley of the arch, we have the center edge boxes. Okay, there's 4 corner boxes and there's 4 center edge boxes. Now, in the center edge box, it will go Bluesters is directly connected to Archie and straddling one stud away from Poobrick. Now, you move up the length of Bluester and you'll go one stud. Then you're going to put a Greg the 2x2. Then you're going to go one stud over to the side and you're going to put a Bluester. Then you're going to go one stud and you're going to put a Greg the 2x2. Then you're going to go up towards the edge and you're going to put one Bluester, and it's going to connect to one corner of an Archie, and it's going to be directly one stud away from a Poobrick. Then in the center, you're going to have a Bluester. And the two sides, the side that has 2 studs on it, will always be one stud away from the Bluester. The sides that have 4 studs on them will always be 2 studs away from a Bluester. So if you turn it around onto the side where it's facing differently, it will be on the sides that are longer on the Bluesters, will be 2 studs away from the other long sides of the Bluesters. The short side of the Bluester, the 2 stud wide side, will be 1 stud away from a Bluester. Okay? And that is that pattern. And that pattern, of course, copied 1, 2, 3, 4 times. Almost screwed up there. Okay, that is that pattern. Now we're going to move into the center because the center has its own pattern. Okay, the center pattern is ringed by Gregs. All right, we got to just remember that. So you follow from the edge. So we could choose any of the Archie Bluester connections. Okay, you just want to follow an Archie Bluester connection. You want to jump that stud to the Greg. Then you're going to jump 2 studs. Then you're going to put a Greg. Then you're going to jump 1 stud, and you're going to put a Bluester. You're going to jump 1 stud, and you're going to put a Greg. Then you're going to go onto the vertical. You're going to jump 1 stud. You're going to put a Bluester. Then you're going to jump 1 stud, and you're going to put a Greg. then you're going to jump one stud, you're going to put a bluester, then you're going to jump one stud, and you're going to put a greg, and then below that should be a bluester that you connected earlier. If it isn't, then you put one bluester there. Then in the center, you put one bluester. And of course, this bluester follows the other rules of the bloosters, like the gregs follow the rules of the gregs, which is, of course, gregs will never be, the gregs will always be one or less studs away from a bluester. But they will always be two studs away from another greg, because gregs don't like gregs. Now, in the center of this box of greg and bluester that we just made, we're going to put one 2x4 bluester. And of course, this bluester can have its 4-stud side 2 studs away from any other bluester. But the 2-stud side should be 1 stud away from any bluester. If you connect it where a 2-stud side is directly connected to a bluester, that is the wrong pattern. No, sir. Move it, that 2-stud side, 1 stud away from a bluester. Then your 4-stud side should be 2 studs away from a bluester. And that is your pattern. And then to fill in the top of the pattern, you're going to need 4x8 plates. Those are the ones I decided to use. Now, it's going to take a bunch of 4x8 plates, but we can figure out how many, and I'll just show you the math real quick. The math is 32 divided by 4, because one side of the plate is 4, and then you do 32 divided by 8, because the other one side of that plate is 8, and that will tell you how many plates you need. And how am I thinking like this? It should actually be multiplied, should be. Yeah, it should be multiplied, divide by 8. That was wrong. Yeah, okay, so here is the diner. Now, if we take and count, we can count the plates. So the 4x8s that I put here, I put in such a way to allow them to stack vertically, so that they were in the vertical standard for the sidewalk at the top, but in the horizontal standard for when you were talking about going down the street. So if you're going down the street, they're going to be 4 studs, then another plate, then that plate will be 4 studs, then another plate, and that plate will be 4 studs, and another plate. And if you're talking going in the vertical, it would be 8 studs, then another plate, then 8 studs, then another plate, then 8 studs, then another plate. So it should be 4 plates going north to south, and 8 plates going east to west. And then you take and you multiply those together. So we have 8 plates, and then we multiply that by 4, and we get 32. It's weird. I know. It's really weird. But you need 32 4x8 plates to cover the top of your MILS platform when you're dealing with a 32x32 base. So the number 32 is very important. Then, for the diner specifically, I took and subtracted 9 plates from the 32. Okay? So I took out 8 plates from 32, of course, meaning you divide, you take 8 from the 2, it'll give you 24, and then I took an extra plate, so 23. So this diner has 23 light gray plates, but 9 green plates, because it's got a big green back area, and it also has this door that's cut into the side that allowed the green plate to go back a little bit. So I needed one more 4x8 in that corner area to allow for the door and all the green area around that. And that is the diner. It used the same exact scheme that I'm showing you here on this 32 by 32. Now, how many bricks will you need? So we discussed most of them, but we didn't discuss the bloosters or the interior bricks. You're going to need 16 gregs for this project, which are the 2x2 interiors. Then you're going to need 1, 2, 3, and that 3 is counted 4 times, so that is 12. You're going to need 12, and then you're going to add that 12 to 1, 2, 3, 4. That 4 is counted 4 times, so that's going to equal 16, and that 12 and 16 added together will be 28. And then you're going to come over here to the center, and you're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you're going to add that 28, and you're going to put 5 to it, and that's going to come out to 33 bloosters. 33 bloosters, 16 gregs, 16 poo bricks, 8 archies, and 8 8 techies, 1x2 technics, and 8 1x2 regular bricks, and then 4 2x2 bricks. And that should be your MILS platform for 32. Now, the pattern changes when we discuss the 16 by 32, because if you want to allow these arches so that wires could flow through on the 16 side of a 16 by 32, you have to change the pattern. I'm sorry, I built it without that, but I didn't like the fact there weren't arches on all four sides. So with the understanding that an arch is always going to be 8, you're going to count one, you have the four studs, that's 8. Then there's going to be an arch. The arch will always be 8 studs away from a corner. I went ahead with the top of the 16 by 16s and put 2 arches instead of 1 by 4s. So it's going to go 2 by 2, followed by techie, then followed by an archie, then followed by an archie. And of course, these archies are pushed back by 1 stud. Okay? Then it's another techie, and of course behind the techies are the 1x2 regular bricks, and then in each corner is a 2x2. Now the side build for this stays the same except for one special little extra bit, where instead of pushing archies back by 1 stud so that the poo bricks were 1 stud ahead of the archies and the poo bricks are going to be flush with one another all the way down the sides. Okay, you're not changing any other parts of the build except to ensure archies and poo bricks are flush with one another on each side. And then on the interior, we're going to do something else fun. Okay, so let me double check this real quick with the count. We're going to need 1 of those, 1, 2, and 3. Right? No. Yeah, there's, so that's 4 and 18. You're going to need 18 bloosters for the interior, and you're going to need 3 Gregs for the interior. So let's talk about the pattern here, because there's still a pattern. I made sure there was one. So the way I like to think of it on this one, where the other one we thought of it as a tic-tac-toe symbol, think of this one as a big highway with a large median between it. So a highway that's 2 bricks wide, and it's going to go down the entire length of the 32. Now on the side, because of lengthwise 32, and then crosswise you got 16. So on the 16 side, you've got little bits that come in and crisscross. And to do this pattern, what we're going to do is we're going to come over here to a blooster. We're going to put that blooster flush with the 1x2 that is directly above techie. I think, right? We're going to do that. How many studs over here? Oh, wait, no, we shouldn't start with that corner because that corner's wrong. That corner was something special. Over here, we'll start with this corner. So, techie, and then 1x2, directly behind techie. Okay? Then you go techie, followed by regular brick, then you go a stud, and then you put a blooster. Blooster is flush with poo brick that's on the side there. So blooster will come in the middle, I think. No, will come in right on the edge and straddle a poo brick and a techie. Now on the sides, there's another problem that I forgot to mention, which is we won't be using 1x2 regular bricks on the sides. The techies will actually back up against the bloosters. So it will go techie blooster and poo brick blooster, because the blooster will be straddling the techie and the poo brick. So put that blooster there, then jump 2 studs down, put another blooster down, make sure it's flush with the poo bricks. Okay? Then, of course, it's going to be flush with a poo brick and an arch. Then 2 studs down, another blooster, flush with archie and poo brick. Then 2 studs down, another blooster, flush with poo brick and poo brick. Then 2 studs down, another blooster, flush with poo brick and archie. Then 2 studs down, another blooster, flush with archie and poo brick. Then 2 studs down, another blooster, flush with archie and technic. Then 1 stud down. Then you have your 1x2 that is directly behind the techie, and of course the 2x2 on the edge. So that pattern is recopied on each side, coming up with 14 bloosters. Of course, there's 18 used. The center pattern is slightly different, but it uses a few Gregs. So in the center, we start with straddling 2 archies with 1 blooster. And of course, it would be the 2 stud wide version of that bluster, and then 4 studs up. That bluster's a 2x4. So 2 studs straddle the archies, then you go 4 studs up for the bluster. Then you jump a stud and you put a Greg down. Then Greg follows the rule. He stays 1 stud away from a bluster. There's no other Greg across the way, so he doesn't have to worry about that part of the rule. Then you jump 2 studs and you come across a bluster. Then next to that bluster, you're going to put a Greg flush with 2 blusters. So it's going to be bluster, Greg, immediately a Greg, then immediately another bluster. Jump 2 studs, followed by another Greg. Jump stud, followed by bluster. Bluster, of course, being flush with Archie and Archie. And that is how you build it, because everything else will come in line. All the canals will open up. It will look pretty cool, in my opinion. Now, the amount of plates you'll need to fulfill this one, of course, is the number of plates divided by 2 that you needed on the other one. So where we needed 32 plates before, we only need 16 plates to fulfill this guy. Keep that in mind as well. But I think I have blathered on long enough about MILS standard and MILS structure and MILS planning and Lego brick piece count. I hope that you've enjoyed today's show. Please keep in mind all the piece counts I mentioned to you and all the ways to build, and go out and MILS up your Lego city today, or just your Lego landscape today. Go MILS something. Until next time, have a wonderful day. Bye-bye for now.